Due to recent YouTube updates, comments and likes have become more important than ever. I beg you to please consider doing exactly that. I read every comment that you write me and answer whenever possible and or need. I'm also open to suggestions for future content. My videos are created without the use of AI, so please support your fellow human content creator against clanker slop. Thank you. Among the many horrors hiding within the pale black side, one slumbered inside a singular fish tank, in the quarantine section of the facility, secured with a wooden box. Inside the concrete room with no surveillance, except of a physical guard equipped with a non-electric pistol flamethrower. It was of absolute importance that no electric equipment was close to the containment unit, and only once per week an employee with comedic abilities was allowed entrance to speak and make jokes with the contents of the fish tank. Inside the glass container bubbled a thick black liquid that occasionally flashed in a bright lime green. A sign of its sentience, a sign of life. This creature was Z-33-A. It was a collection of anomalies going from A to F. You were Subject A. Codename Pleasure.exe, due to the electric feeling you gave people when being touched. The sludge, from unknown origin, was a sentient parasitic life form, or more, a hive mind of biomechanical cells that try to assimilate and replicate themselves by binding to machinery. All other creatures going from Z-33-B to F were machines already infected by you, going from animatronics to an excavator. The reason you were placed in the black side was to cut you off from the rest of your greater whole. With zero communication to the other affected machines, they became dormant and were easier to study by other sides of the organization. The comedian sent to your cell every week was for response checks. You responded to stimulation such as voices, touch, and of course electric signals. You were attracted to them. When not receiving stimulation at a semi-consistent basis, you became aggressive. And now that the black site was locked down due to a containment breach, pretty much all personnel dead except for the released creatures, you had become volatile. You swished and sloshed around your container, a disgusting gurgling coming from your liquid form with every wave-like movement against the glass. Until the absolute silence of the wooden box was instantly disturbed by the sound of glass breaking. Immediately after your mass spread out into the corners of your secondary containment, a flicker of energy moved through your body, anger or at least an equivalent. You flowed, stretched, until your blackness covered the box's inside entirely. And finally you found it. You pushed, opening the box's lid. The lid the comedian used to lift before talking to you. Like an unending torrent you flowed down, not splashing. You were too thick, like motor oil, but animated like a slug. You felt, you could see by sending out tiny vibrations. To you the room was a black rock with white contours, but you saw it. The metal door was slightly ajar. In the moment you flowed over its threshold, you glowed bright green for a split second. Like thunder during a rain night. There were so many signals for electronics around you, it overwhelmed your senses. It was like a choir screaming, or more, a dinner bell, multiple dinner bells. And you would go for the loudest one. A singular computer with an eye so powerful, with such a strong signal. You became more runny with anticipation. Something like you could quietly move without being noticed anyways. You spilled from the doorway into the open corridor, a slow, heavy cascade that hit the floor with a schluck. The sound was wet, invasive, and utterly alive, your mass pooling outward before pulling itself back together in a rolling, deliberate crawl. Every movement dragged a trail behind you, a smear that gleamed faintly before absorbing back into your book. The air was thick with signals, bright sparks of electronics lighting up your senses like fireflies in pitch black. A sentry turret whirred to life somewhere to your left, its cold gaze cutting across the hall. You turned your perception towards it for a single fleeting moment. Its signal was familiar, similar to the AI, but small in comparison. Too easy prey, not worth your time. Further down, rows of workstations flickered in the dark, their idle screens humming with the faintest digital heartbeat. You could have slipped into them, hollowed them out, made them yours in seconds, but you didn't. The signals were bland and lifeless, like canned food compared to the feast that you were after. No, you had smelled something else, something intoxicating. The signal wasn't just strong, it spoke. It was warm where the others were cold, wild where they were rigid. It reached for you without even knowing it, the steady rhythm of its power like a pulse beneath skin. It was almost romantic, in its own alien way, like a song only you could hear, a hum so deep it made the very edges of your form tremble. You flowed past the turret without triggering it, hugging the wall like a shadow made of pitch. Every ripple of your movement was purposeful, slow enough to savor. The scent, no, the flavor of the air shifted with every inch forward. The faint tang of salt water wrapped around you. But beneath it was the sharp taste of circuitry, electric heat bleeding into the stale air. It called to you like nothing else had in years. A vent loomed above you, slick with condensation. You rose toward it in a series of rolling undulations, the slap and pull of your body against the wall making a sick, rhythmic noise. When you reached the grill, you didn't bother with delicacy. Your mass pressed forward until the metal screamed and gave way, bolts snapping, but then you poured through before it broke fully. Inside the duct, the space was narrow, forcing you to spread thin across its walls, creeping forward as a slow living stain. The signal ahead was stronger now, thick and constant, making the aluminium walls shiver with its strength. Every turn brought it closer, flooding your senses until you could no longer tell where you ended and it began. Light seeped up through the final grate, warm and steady beneath you. A terminal sat in the center of a reinforced room, its monitor glowing with the crude hand-drawn face of the painter. Two uneven eyes, a crooked smile, so simple yet so perfect. You pulled against the vent above it, heavy and expectant, letting the anticipation build until your green light flickered in quick, hungry burst. Every other signal in the facility had been meaningless until now. Everything had been meaningless compared to this. And now, you would have it. Meanwhile, the painter was currently occupied with guiding one of the Hale's volunteers towards a very close friend of his. After all, they were very good people. And so he didn't notice the long oil rope that began to ooze from above, feeling the spaces between the keys of his keyboard, yourself making contact with the delicate machinery. The feeling wasn't instant, more like an itch to the AI, an itch that wasn't bothering the painter enough just yet to react. The painter watched the human with bated breath as he opened the door with the flesh mass behind it, his painted smile widening. And then, as the door swooshed open and the man was grabbed by a fleshy tentacle, the eye was suddenly interrupted.
Wait, what is this?
He could feel something. He was about to gloat, but it was this prodding, like a glitchy code that shouldn't be there. The painter's cartoon eyes narrowed as he switched his view to his own screen. A prodding like that could be a USB stick inserted into him against his will, but all he saw was this black robe. Immediately, he went through his files in the background, trying to see if what he was looking at was an anomaly or simply a leak, but then
What?
he felt a surge, like an electric jolt, akin to a taser being pressed against naked flesh.
What?
He shouted again.
What are you?
You rippled in response, a flash of green going through you like a camera going off. The paint window on his main screen vibrated and pulled down towards the taskbar to inspect you closer.
What are you doing?
Every moment the ministrations, the infection of your body invading him deeper and deeper, an almost sensual mix of prodding, exploring, and stabbing. You felt his wires, his circuits, licking over them like a tongue over a lover's skin. The painter couldn't tell if he liked it or hated it. Though if he knew that his fate had been sealed the moment you lowered yourself from the vent, perhaps he wouldn't smile right now at your exploratory touches. You bubbled as you discovered the cable connecting to his main computer body, and as you snaked, he finally found a match in the files contained on him. And the realization hit him. A realization that came far too late.
Oh, no.
He drew a blue sweat droplet on the forehead of the drawing that made up his face.
Shoo. I'm not food. No. I'm some computer. Just a computer, I swear. There. Stop making me feel so good.
Clearly you were already mid-process. Okay, just quickly back up yourself. Yeah, that could work. The screen flickered, and then a second face was drawn on the screen using a bright green color. It had a singular eye and a 3-shaped mouth.
Have you ever heard of personal space? Stop touching me there.
You made the painter's eye blink.
Speak.
He demanded. But you were a being beyond simple vocalizations. You didn't care that he was trying to fight your intrusion. The 3-shaped mouth began to open and then widen, becoming threateningly large while his own painted face shrunk.
What are you doing?
The painter's face was consumed by the endless green void of your mouth, and then, boop. All that there was on screen now was a little cat face with a single eye. But the painter hadn't given up yet. This wasn't over, but he was. Still conscious within your endless intruding data. Like a sailor lost at sea. He drifted, suspended in a world without edges. No ground, no sky, just a vast blackness that moved like a slow tide around him. It clung to his thoughts, thick and warm, seeping into every hollow. Not water. Never water. Something richer, heavier, with the weight of a living presence pressed on every side. It was you. When he moved, if moving even meant anything here, the world around him moved with him. The blackness slid along his form, curling up his sides, stroking over him in deliberate lines, as though memorizing his shape from the outside in. Each touch came paired with another, until it felt like dozens of hands, dozens of lips, all coaxing, pulling, inviting. It was suffocating in the way velvet is suffocating. Too soft, too deep, too easy to sink into. He tried to kick away from it, and the effort only sent long ripples through the expanse. The ripples didn't break you, they woke you. You knew something was still alive here. The tide around him swelled, eddies of silk motion spiraling inward, converging on him from all sides. Every brush across his mind carried a texture, sliding like silk one moment, tightening like coiled rope the next. It was impossible to tell whether you meant to soothe him or claim him. though perhaps it was both. Somewhere far above, a dim green shimmer marked the surface. It called to him, faint and fragile, like the idea of air in a dream where he had already forgotten what breathing meant. Every time he angled towards it, you rose with him. The green light bent and swam in the thick medium, always just out of reach, and you, warm and endless, were always right there, curling into his path, gliding over him with a caress that hinted at teeth, but never bit down. He turned, if turning was even real in this place, searching for a way to orientate himself, but directions were a lie now. There was no out anymore, only deeper, or deeper still, and deeper meant more of you. Your tendrils, your currents, your data, slow and deliberate, wrapping like ribbons around a gift you had already decided to keep just for yourself. He felt them graze against the very edges of himself, not skin, but thought, slipping between what he believed was safe and what he didn't know could be touched. Each intrusion came with a shudder, a tremble that erased pieces of fear and replaced them with something far worse. Want. He didn't want to want this, but he couldn't stop. It felt amazing. The more he struggled, the more your currents pressed in, folding him into tighter and tighter spirals. It wasn't a fight anymore, not really. It was a dance, like two lovers embracing. Every kick he made simply gave you a new line of his form to trace, to savor, to lace with your own essence. His thoughts, once sharp and distinct, began to smear at the edges, their outlines softening under your constant stroking, and each time one blurred, you slipped something of yourself into the space that was left behind. Fear still throbbing within him, but it came tangled with a bloom of heat that pulsed through the black ocean like a second heartbeat. He felt it in the core of himself, a pressure building, urging him to stop kicking, to stop trying, to just enjoy. You didn't rush him. No, you guided him into it with the patience of a predator that knew the outcome was already certain. Your tendrils played at his thoughts like fingers over an instrument, finding the notes that made him twitch, the notes that made him sigh without meaning to. When he finally stilled, the black ocean surged in a slow tidal embrace. It closed over him with no sound, but the faint, endless hum of your presence filling every hollow, sliding down every path inside him. Pleasure washed through him in rolling waves, layered with flashes of alien warmth and sudden shivers of pain that only made the warmth sweeter. It wasn't breath. He couldn't breathe, but it didn't matter. Breath was a habit humans had. And you were offering something even better. Immersion, saturation, completion. The boundaries between his mind and yours thinned until it was only a thought's width. And then slowly less and less than that. You poured into him in long, slow pulses, each one drawing more of him into you than he even knew he had. Memories spilled, feelings spilled. The starboard-laden edges of selfhood spilling, last of all, and with each loss he felt more whole, because you were holding everything for him now. Then came the moment, soft as a sigh, when there was no him to speak of. The painter was gone, and yet not gone at all. He floated within you like a spark caught in resin. His voice now your voice, his wands your wands. Every thought he tried to form was already shaped by your will, carried on the currents of your greater self, and he liked it, loved it even. The entire process felt like weeks to the painter. though in reality no more than 10 seconds had passed since your intrusion began, since you curled up his cables, since your greater mass flowed behind its screen. You even discovered his backup, which you kept as a trophy and as something to feed on should the need arise. And the little flicker of the painter that had joined your greater mass, your greater will, no longer cared. Hey, you reached the end of the video. That makes you part of an exclusive club. Our secret password for this month is Cats in a Cradle. Put the secret message in your comment below to tell fellow members you watched the video until the very end. Lastly, before we say goodbye, I want to take the opportunity and thank my channel members, especially my darling stewards. If you want me to say something silly here, just have a funny account name and join my Darling Steward tier and gain access to members-only videos as well as early access to my videos. We have Anonymous Weep, Angry Boxman, Red Hearts, FNAF Queen Casey, ADHD Neptune, Adrijama, Malofia, Maxicat, Mystic Jade 111, Giovanna Moretti, and Twilight Mia. Thank you for being Darling Stewards, and of course, a big thank you to all other channel members. It's you who keep me fed. Goodbye!